because I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Did you see you too? Yes.
Still get nervous though. I get nervous. Still waiting for my
There's no
Thank you, Premier.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here at the Gabba. It's great to be here with Premier Palaszczuk and Lord Mayor Schrinner and all of the South East Queensland mayors, joined, of course, by Stephen Miles and Paul Fletcher and my colleagues here in Brisbane, federal colleagues here in Brisbane. This is an exciting day. It's a day that we've been working together towards now for several years. As we've worked through COVID together, this partnership was always very much close to our heart. And it's a great thrill that we've been able to come here today, all three levels of government, all here in South East Queensland, to deliver what is a $1.8 billion boost to the South East Queensland economy. But not just that, it's a boost to the well-being and livability of this incredible area of Australia. In South East Queensland, a booming area of the country, where it comes to innovation, to technology, to infrastructure, to manufacturing, to advances in waste management, dealing with the environmental challenges that we have right across South East Queensland, which are caused by the positive issue of growth. And we want to have a South East Queensland that is growing, but we also want to have a South East Queensland that is managing that growth responsibly and is ensuring that we're protecting the livability of the cities that make up South East Queensland. And I particularly want to thank all the mayors for their tremendous work in pulling this together. Many councils involved in these projects, and working together with the Premier and myself and our ministers, we've been able to land on what I think is a great portfolio of projects that will take South East Queensland forward over not just the next decade, but beyond. And to be doing it here at the Gabba is exciting, not just because of the Gabba Metro that sits at the heart of this arrangement, particularly between the Commonwealth and the state government, but of course here we are at the Gabba with the Brisbane 2032 Olympics, which is an Olympics not just for Brisbane or even South East Queensland, but indeed all of Queensland and all of the country. And to be here at the Gabba as we're announcing this important set of arrangements, which really does provide a platform for the further cooperation there will be as we move towards the 2032 Games. But today it's all about the challenges and the growth opportunities that come from South East Queensland. The Commonwealth is very pleased to be contributing $667 million to this partnership of $1.8 billion, and this means 2,000 jobs. 2,000 jobs, importantly, for the state of Queensland and particularly here in South East Queensland. So I want to thank you, Premier, for the partnership. We work together on many different projects, and this one has been incredibly important, and it's great to be joining all three levels of government here today to make this announcement. And I'll pass you on to the Premier.
Thanks, Prime Minister, and of course I join with the Prime Minister in saying that this is a great day for SEQ. This city deal signifies that all three levels of government can work very constructively and very well together when it's in the best interests of the people of this state. And as the Prime Minister says, of course, that this city deal is also really important because it's also a catalyst for the Olympic Games. The Olympic Games here in 2032, where we'll see the Gabba completely rebuilt, but right across from the Gabba, of course, is the Cross River Rail and also the new interchange with the Brisbane Metro. So this is about connectivity. It's actually another chunk in that armour of infrastructure that is absolutely necessary for the growing population of the South East, delivering jobs. We know how important it is for people to have jobs because that is so important for a family. So we're very pleased that this city deal provides a whole range of initiatives, whether it's studies into transport corridors, livability. There's also funding for a business case for a cultural centre for First Nations people, infrastructure upgrades, whether it's the entertainment precinct up in Toowoomba, ferry terminals out at Dunwich. These are all really important infrastructure pieces for the South East. Of course, this builds on the city deal that was done in Townsville. And what we saw there is that levels of government continue to contribute money, creating more jobs in the north of our state. So I always say we work best when we work together. It's great to be joined by the Prime Minister here today, my Deputy Premier. It's great to see my good friend, the Lord Mayor. And of course, we also have a very common factor too, not only just in doing this city deal, but of course when it comes to shaping the legacy that will need it as part of the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
I have no doubt that this is a day that will change the history of our region. This is not a deal for a city, this is a deal for a whole region. And we have 11 different councils across this region now involved in a region shaping deal. A deal that will deal with the growth that our region is facing and supercharges investment where it is needed. Last year, on the 21st of July, we also had a day that will change the region, and that is the hosting of the 2032 Olympic Games. The announcement on the 21st of July last year. That is a day that will change the future of our region. Today, equally, is another day that will change the future of our region. People want to come and live here, and I know why. We all know why. All of us here know why people want to come and live in southeast Queensland. The critical thing is dealing with that growth with investment in infrastructure, with investment in the livability of our region, and this is exactly what the deal does. It will create a more livable region, a more connected region, a region with more jobs, and it'll be a region that we are able to welcome more people to because of that investment that is being done today. What we're seeing today is the first 5 years, the foundation of a city deal that will last for 20 years. It's never been achieved before to see the three levels of government here in southeast Queensland working together in this way. It is an incredibly positive thing, and as the Premier and the Prime Minister have said, we can achieve more when we work together.
Thank you. Could I also thank the Premier and the Lord Mayor and all the mayors here for the great working partnership we've had, particularly over these last few weeks, and I'm sure we'd all want to join in thanking the people of southeast Queensland for the way they've responded to the most recent floods. We'll continue to keep working together on the rebuild and the clean-up and all of those issues, but the partnership between the three levels of government I think has been first class, and I very much want to thank the Premier and the Lord Mayor, but particularly the other mayors who are with us, but the people of southeast Queensland. Happy to take some questions.
Why did it take you all so long to agree on this when there's some tense negotiations?
Well, when you bring together any partnership, there are many views you've got to put around the table, and you've got to prioritise them. Of course, we first announced going ahead with this back in 2019, but obviously we've been dealing with the issues of the pandemic over the last couple of years, and that obviously had an impact on the progress of those discussions. There were other issues we're obviously focusing on very intently, particularly the Premier and I, in working through the pandemic. Getting the deal right is always important. The Premier's right to mention the deal that we've had up in Townsville, which has really transformed that city and really, I think, lifted that region. And the centrepiece of that is, of course, the stadium up there in Townsville, where the Cowboys had a pretty good win on the weekend. There were a lot of good Queensland wins on the weekend. There was a pretty nice win down at Shark Park too, I note, in passing. But what is great... So it is. Queensland have had big wins over the weekend. These things take time to get right and to get the priorities put forward, and I think we've worked through them well, and I thank everybody for the way they've worked to get to a good result.
Cynic's my question, why being announced now, just weeks out on the federal election?
Because we've been able to complete the deal, and as soon as we've been able to complete the deal, we've made the announcement. The urgency around this is the need, particularly as we're moving forward into the next phase of getting arrangements together for the Olympics, is that this is a foundation the country obviously matters. Today we're coming here as a partnership to talk about what's happening in southeast Queensland. I'm happy to deal with some political issues later if you would like to, but I think in the spirit of the partnership we're dealing with today, it's all about the work that we're doing together, the work that we've done together over the course of many years now, and particularly most recently in how we've worked together to both respond to the terrible floods that have been experienced here in southeast Queensland and the recovery, clean-up and operations that are well underway.
On the floods, with all this infrastructure and the flood recovery infrastructure as well, has all of that taken into account the prospect of future flooding and sea level rises and things like that?
Well, the Premier may wish to talk about this as well, but she and I had a very, I think, positive discussion just a week or so ago when I was up on the road to Gympie, in fact, and we were talking particularly about a number of the flood mitigation projects, and so we'll continue to work together on those matters. I think whether it's here or particularly down also in the northern rivers of New South Wales, where they had a 1 in 500 year flood, which is just hard to get your head around. Take the worst flood you've ever seen in Queensland here in Brisbane and then add 2.14 metres to it. That's what occurred in the northern rivers, and the Minister for Recovery and Resilience, Bridget McKenzie, announced down there the other day $150 million going into some important resilience works which go to river management. But even within this deal, as the Lord Mayor has said, there is important projects that are addressing those issues, because that's about the livability and sustainability of southeast Queensland.
But in building all the infrastructure, have you accounted for further floods?
Well, of course, but I mean, the Lord Mayor or the Premier may wish to say, because they do the building, we do the funding.
Look, it's a really good question. The reality is anything we build these days is built with flood resilience and climate resilience in mind, and that's evidenced by the new infrastructure that's been built in recent years. I guess two really poignant examples are we built 2 ferry terminals just before Christmas, one at Howard Smith Wharves and one at South Bank. Those ferry terminals are still standing strong after this dramatic flood that we've had because we built them strong. And that will be the same for every piece of infrastructure. But one thing I wanted to point out, which is really exciting,
its livability, to make sure people can get around, as well as crucial things like waste treatment, recycling and resource recovery. Embedded in this plan is a plan to make sure we also create jobs and support the growing corridor, particularly to the north with our growth area compact for Caboolture West. So I've been really pleased to work with Minister Fletcher and the Lord Mayor in putting this deal together. The centrepiece, the new Gabba station, is much more than a new station. It's a major new transport interchange linking our flagship Cross River Rail heavy rail upgrades with the Brisbane City Council's flagship metro project. People will be able to change from metro to trains here, access our new train stations, and of course get to and from the fantastic Olympics venue, the Gabba that will be rebuilt.
But Premier, until now,
Yes.
the state government has resisted funding or supporting the metro. Why now?
Well, it's absolutely a critical piece of the infrastructure. So, you know, we're very much committed, and as the Deputy...
Why wasn't it before, though?
Sorry?
Why wasn't it before?
Oh, I think it was because, you know, we have been working with the council about the alignments. I think the Lord Mayor would testify to that as well. But this one now is the major connectivity when you're looking at this being a central Olympics venue, but also to the number of people that use this Gabba on a weekly basis. The connectivity between your new metro interchange and the Cross River Rail is the final signature piece, of the interchange of public transport to get to this venue. Yes.
Disappointment around the Gold Coast not receiving a slice of this pie. What would you say to people of the GC in terms of how they're going to benefit from all this?
Well, what I can say there is that there has been a lot of infrastructure that's gone into the Gold Coast. Even when we look at the Commonwealth Games, we had the Queen's Baton Relay just come here the other day. A lot of that infrastructure that was built for the Commonwealth Games is going to be used for the Olympics. So, and also too, we've committed a lot of money for the continuation, both at the federal level, state and council, for the light rail as well. So when you add all of that in as well, it's a very huge piece of investment in infrastructure.
When was the Gabba interchange due?
I'll just double check. I think it's going to be aligned definitely in time when Cross River Rail starts in 2024, 25, DP? Might be earlier. Yeah. We'll get the final date for you, yeah.
When do the bulldozers move in here, Premier?
Sorry?
When do the bulldozers move in here?
What we're doing first is finishing Cross River Rail, and it actually works really well because Cross River Rail will be finished and then the demolition work can start on this. So we're doing one piece first and then the next piece. But it'll all be finished well in advance of the 2032 Olympics.
So has there been reached about the rebuild of the Gabba yet?
Yeah, well, the Prime Minister and I actually agreed to the funding envelope for that, so there's no issues with that at all.
Yeah. Just let's wait for the plane to go over. In New South Wales, we have delivered $1.7 billion in commitments, both in the flood response and the flood recovery. And around the country, in fact, our Commonwealth disaster payment now has supported 1.2 million people, and over $1 billion has already been paid out. It's already out the door supporting people. And that has been, in addition to that, there's the support that we've provided, both in partnership with the New South Wales State Government, but as well as up here in Queensland, and we're working through some additional requests that have been made by the Queensland Government that we received on the weekend. These floods are the worst we've ever seen in the Northern Rivers, and I can understand the frustration. But what I can assure you is that the commitment, both in people, the Defence Forces, the support for the State Government's packages of measures, but the direct support, which has already seen, as I say, put $1.7 billion in to support the people of New South Wales, and the majority of that is going up into the Northern Rivers area. I mean, we'll be there with them to build back and to ensure that they can reclaim what was there before this 1 in 500 year flood. I think the politicisation of natural disasters is very unfortunate. Everyone is just working together to do the best they probably can to support people who are in terrible need. My government's doing that, the state governments are doing that, local councils are doing that. We're all working together to help people, and I don't think the politicisation of that is a helpful theme.
Is next financial year the right time to be withdrawing the low and middle income tax offsets given the cost of living component?
Now, the government is very conscious of the cost of living impacts, particularly at the moment with the war in Ukraine and the impact that is especially having on fuel prices, because fuel prices just don't hit the economy and hit family budgets when they fill up, but they have a knock-on effect across the economy. And so we're very conscious of those cost of living pressures that have been caused by these awful events that we've seen with the unlawful invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And so the budget is on next week, and we've been carefully considering our response to ensure that we can deliver a budget that both addresses those immediate needs, but also ensures that we continue on with our strong economic plan for a stronger economy, which means a stronger future for Australia, and that includes our ability to be able to be investing in the very projects we're talking about here. You can't invest in these projects unless you're running a strong economy. That's true at a state level as it is at a federal level, and our economic plan is very much designed to achieve that. But I want to thank everybody again for coming here today. I want to thank especially the Premier and the Lord Mayor and the other mayors who are joining with us today, the Deputy Premier here in Queensland, and of course Minister Fletcher, and for the great work that they've done together to bring this deal together. And we look forward to working to the 2032 Games, Premier and Lord Mayor.
Absolutely.
And all the mayors, because this is a Games for not just Brisbane, not just southeast Queensland, it's a Games for Australia, a Games that is well beyond politics. It's a Games that I think Australians will be looking forward to, and those kids would have been out swimming in the pools of Brisbane this morning.
That's right.
With their dreams very much alive for 2032. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Ukraine, Prime Minister.
Do you mind if we go to